Hi, I'm Dr. Jackson Crawford. I'm a specialist in the Old Norse language, currently teaching at the University of California, Berkeley, previously at UCLA, and as of fall 2017, happy to be returning home to the Rockies to teach at the University of Colorado Boulder. I'm continuing to work through a long list of questions from Patreon supporters that I listed about 3 weeks ago, and today I'm going to be answering a question from supporter Graveyard Mosh, who asks about Norse pagan baptism. I think there's two ways to possibly look at this. To begin with, there is no real account of someone converting from Christianity to the pre-Christian pagan religion of Scandinavia in our Old Norse literature. All the accounts of conversion go the other way. So if you're thinking about a baptism as a sign of conversion, there really is no record of anything like that. You also have to remember that this isn't an organized religion in the same way Christianity is. There probably isn't some organized system or way that someone is considered to sort of convert to the worship of these gods. Typically, the worship of these gods is simply just sort of probably inherited, passed on from family to family without being consciously thought about too much. The closest thing maybe to a conversion the other way that I can think of from Old Norse literature comes from the saga of Olaf Tryggvason in Heimskringla. Before Olaf Tryggvason took the throne in Norway, Norway was presided over by Håkon Jarl, who was a pagan. And he went to Denmark to assist his ally, the King of Denmark, in resisting an invasion by the Holy Roman Emperor. But the Scandinavians were defeated, and Håkon Jarl was forcibly baptized in the Christian church. He was sent back across the sea with I want to say like a cargo of priests and Bibles, but as he got out of sight of the Danish shore, he threw the Bibles and the priests overboard. And when he got across the Kattegat to Sweden, to Jutland, he made blot mikket, a huge sacrifice, and 2 ravens then flew over the sacrifice, calling loudly. And this gave Håkon Jarl the impression that Odin had received his sacrifice. So then he burned his ships and he proceeded to raid the Swedes. On the other end of one's life, at the very beginning of life, there does seem to have been a ritual something like infant baptism in the pre-Christian Norse world. In several sagas, as well as in the Poetic Edda, we read about a rite by which a child was sprinkled with water at about the same time that the child was approved by the father or head of the household and given a name. After a baby was born, it seems to have been part of the ritual that the child would be brought to the father, or whoever the head of the household was. It might be the girl's mother if the father had died or wasn't known. And if this man approved the child, approved bringing it up, because infant exposure was practiced too for unwanted children, he would give it a name, a gift, and then apparently the child would be sprinkled with water in a ceremony, maybe something similar to infant baptism in some Christian churches. We read about this, for instance, in the saga of the Volsungs, when the hero Sigurd is born. His father is dead, but he's brought to Hjolprek, his mother's husband, or husband-to-be, and he's sprinkled with water when he's given his name. Similarly, in the saga of Ragnar Lothbrok, Ragnar saga Lothbrokar, when Ivar the Boneless is born, he's brought to Ragnar, given his name, and sprinkled with water. This is done not just with boys, but also with girls. In Hervarar saga og Heiðreks, which exists in many different versions, one version tells explicitly that when the girl Hervor was born, her father had been this berserker Angantyr, and the mother died, and so, the mother died, and so the girl is left with the maternal grandfather. And the maternal grandfather is advised by some of his men to expose this infant because she might have some of the undesirable elements of her berserker dad. But he decides to raise her anyway, and he sprinkles her with water. It seems to be part of sort of accepting the child, maybe sort of putting the child into the family line by sprinkling them with this water. The sprinkling with water is in every version of Hervarar saga og Heiðreks, but the actual part about him being advised to expose the child is not in every version. Also in the Poetic Edda, one poem that's not in the Codex Regius but is often included in the Poetic Edda and is included in my translation, Ríkstula, about the god Heimdallr sleeping with the ancestors of the three different human classes, the slaves, the middle class, and the nobility. Each time that one of these ancestors is born, there's the child named slave, the child named freeman, and the child named nobleman. The parents sprinkle him with water. It's interesting that the verb used here, yosu vatne, is explicitly plural. They sprinkled him with water. So it seems like it's something that maybe the mother and the father do together. The stories about this ritual may have been influenced by Christian baptism, but the details and the presence of the ritual seem so consistent that it probably is something that went on before Christianity. The Saga of the Volsungs and the Saga of Ragnar Lothbrok will appear in a new translation by me, available in September. The Saga of Hervor and King Haetheric can be found in a translation by Christopher Tolkien. This is online at the Viking Society for Northern Research. And of course, Ríkstula can be found in my translation of the Poetic Edda. For now, from the University of California, Berkeley, I'm wishing you all the best and thanking you for your interest and questions.